It's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Guitta Harb. Her passion for dentistry ignited at a tender age of 14, blossoming into a lifelong commitment to the art and science of oral care. Her love affair with the dental profession began as a young teen when she had the privilege of observing a dental office in action. It was here that she discovered her fascination with the intricate blend of science and artistry that dentistry embodies. Specializing in cosmetic dentistry, Dr. Harb has honed her skills to become a master of makeovers. Her adept use of veneers and innovative treatments transforms her patients' smiles, leaving them radiantly satisfied. Driven by an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, she continually immerses herself in aesthetic courses, staying on the cutting edge of state-of-the-art materials and modern treatment options. This dedication ensures that her patients receive nothing less than the very best. Dr. Harb's academic journey includes an undergraduate degree from Portland State University and a doctorate from the prestigious Tufts School of Dental Medicine. Her commitment to patient care is unwavering as she pursues ongoing education in all facets of dentistry with a particular focus on restorative and cosmetic dentistry as well as implantology. Her practice is a testament to modernity, equipped with the latest dental technologies, including digital x-rays, intraoral cameras, a digital panoramic machine, and advanced sterilization techniques. With an unwavering commitment to her patients, Dr. Harb strives to treat each individual as a cherished member of her extended family. Her empathetic approach is evident in the comfort that children, adults, and those with dental anxiety find in her care. Following a comprehensive dental examination, she meticulously reviews and discusses treatment options, ensuring her patients are informed partners in their dental health journey. She says, "I take immense pride in delivering comprehensive treatment, exceptional dental care, and unwavering patient comfort," she affirms. Beyond her professional life, she enjoys cycling, running, and cherishing quality moments with her two children and supportive husband. It's an honor to have you on the program.
Thank you so much, Howard. Appreciate you.
What I've been trying to do lately, as I get older, I'm 61, is the kids in dental school and the first couple of years out, they're not happy campers. Starting with the pandemic, it just all went to crap. They were graduating from dental school without even doing a root canal on a live patient. And they got $500,000 in student loans. They got a mortgage on a home, but no home, and they're wondering if they made the right decision. There's people on Dental Town saying that they wish they would have became a plumber like their brother. Could you imagine
Oh my
becoming
goodness.
a doctor of dental
That's,
surgery and wishing
no,
you'd
that's not
become a
good.
plumber? So what I'm trying to do is get the young, very successful people like you. I mean, you're elite and you're very young. And I was wondering, what advice do you have for these scared, burned out kids with $500,000 student loans? They're working in a DSO. They're only getting 30 minutes for a cleaning. Half the time their assistant is a temp, and they're just
Mhm.
like, they're ready to pull their hair out.
I think most importantly, when you graduate dental school, you obviously have to work in places like that because this is where you have to get your clinical, mistakes out. May I say that? Or your experiences, right? And I think that the most important thing is to remember that it's not going to be like that forever. So when you start working in places like this, where it's a corporate, dental office, and I've done that as well. Obviously, I think we've all done that. Um, it is a little bit miserable because number one, first of all, you don't have, you have someone on top of you telling you how to do a filling, how many fillings to do, whether you can or shouldn't do a root canal. And sometimes, you are forced to do things that you don't want to do. You're also seeing a big level of patients. So you're seeing, it's fast, a lot of patients in a very short amount of time. And you almost feel like you don't have control over anything. So yes, it is a little bit, you feel sad, you feel mad, you feel a little bit angry. You're like, have I done the right decision? But I think the main thing to remember in all of it is that it's not forever. You really have to change your mindset and think, okay, I'm here to get this experience and I'm here to, just maybe temporarily work here for a year or two to really learn, the clinical part, the business aspect, and then get out into the real world and really open up your office. So it's kind of about having patience. Now, as far as the students coming out during COVID, and I've heard that they didn't get the experience that we had when we were going to school, obviously the clinical experience. And again, with that, you do have to work in other offices and you do have to get that experience and make the mistakes and learn from other um, dentists. But really the main key, and I think for a lot of these young dentists, is to really find someone, a mentor. And I think that's really extremely important when it comes to the business aspect of dentistry, when it comes to the mental aspect of dentistry, and also the clinical aspect. And no one tells you that. No one says, go find someone that's going to mentor you and that's going to give you advice on everything, because I think that's really important to really know what does it entail to, what does dentistry entail from the business to the mental to the physical health to all of it. And it can be discouraging at the beginning. I can totally understand. I think we were all in that boat, and we didn't even go through COVID or anything like that, but we were all in that boat back then, where you were tossed into practice, where you're like, do this and do it now, and do it fast, and learn all these aspects, and you feel like, here I am, you're graduating with a white coat, thinking, wow, I'm a doctor, I have this status, and then you get thrown in this office where you're like treated not like a doctor. And it is very frustrating, but I think patience, knowing that it's not going to last forever, really finding mentors in dentistry and someone that you really respect, a dentist that you respect, that you look up to, someone with a practice that's, thriving, obviously. I think all those things are huge. And I think when you're graduating dentistry, nobody tells you to do that. They just sort of throw you into the wolves and say, go drill an MO or a DO, or go do an onlay or a crown. Um, and nowadays dentistry is not as easy as it used to be. I mean, you have so much competition. You have a lot of competition. There's almost a dentist in one building, you'll find 10 dentists. And so it's a lot of competition. You're fighting with insurances all the time. I feel like it's a constant struggle. And mentally, it's very, dentistry is mentally draining. So you have to make sure, I think, from a young age as you graduate dental school, to really know which route you want to take, find a mentor that's going to guide you, and really also make sure that you're enjoying dentistry. And I think a lot of us, when you first graduate, don't really enjoy dentistry. I think we're just doing it because we're sort of put in this office and we're told, like, hurry up, do this filling and do this root canal and do extract this tooth and blah, blah. So I think all of these things are very important.
It's funny you said there might be a few in one building. There's that one building in downtown San Francisco that has like 140.
100. Well, I've never heard of that. 140 is a lot.
I think it's on Sutton Street. It's like 101 Sutton or something.
Oh my
I used to
goodness.
have a picture at my seminar, and I said, now, if you visit this office, you want to spend at least one day, because if you sit out there for the whole day, you'll see at least one dentist jump out the window. And but
I would not be surprised. With dentistry, I would not be surprised.
and you and by the way, I follow you on Instagram, the real OC Dentist, and I mean, you're so successful and everything. I own a media company, and a dental media company, and I have 21,000 followers. You have 107,000 followers. Do you own like a dental advertising media company on the side or something, or?
No, but you know what? I could probably teach marketing. And I love social media, and I'm very creative. And I think social media is an outlet for me for my creativity. And I'm a complete perfectionist. So I love making my reels and my videos, and they have to be perfect. And I love marketing. I think if I wasn't doing dentistry, I'll probably be marketing on the side. Um, but and also I've built, mind you, I've been doing this for a long time. So my Instagram didn't just start with 107 1,000 followers just like that. I've been working on it for years. And it took years and years for me to get here. And so it's not something that just happened overnight. So it is a lot of work. And my husband's always like, you're always on Instagram and you're always doing this. But I feel, for me, being seen is very important in your community. And I think that nowadays everybody's on Instagram. And I think being seen on Instagram is very important. So I do put a lot of effort into, posting and my stories. And also what I love about Instagram is I feel, as in any business nowadays, if anybody wants to come to you, they really want to see what kind of person you are. And I see a lot of dentists and they're just posting, before and afters, before and afters, before and afters, before and afters, before and afters. And my husband used to do that. He's an orthodontist. And I would tell him, I'm like, I think you need to stop doing that because first of all, nobody wants to see that many before and afters. And if I want to go and buy something, a product from a business, I really want to know what this business is about. And so for me, posting about my personal life, about my kids, about me cooking, about me working out, about me traveling, I think it's really a brand. And I think that all ties into who I am as a person. And I don't want to just show before and afters all day long because people get tired of that. Okay, she's a great dentist, but who is she as a person? And I think for my Instagram, I really tried to tie in the kind of person I am, the kind of family I'm raising, what we do in our community, what I do on the side. And, speaking of young graduates that do graduate dental school and they're wondering, how do we do this? For me, women empowerment is huge and really showing women that you can handle it. You could have a business, that you could have your own office, that you could be a great mother, that you could look good, you could work out, and you could be a great wife. And so I do have a lot of dental students that reach out to me on DMs constantly. And, they're like, we look up to you. We think you're amazing. You're a role model. So I think it's important to be seen on Insta.
Well,
so that's sort of my take on it.
well, you said you love social media. My only claim to fame is I started Dental Town 5 years before Facebook.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, and everyone thought I was completely insane. It was AOL dial up, all that stuff. But, you talk about you love marketing. All the successful people are. I mean, Steve, I think right now the biggest brand you could argue is Apple. I mean, the iPhone. Yeah. I mean, they're getting $1,500. Warren Buffett owns, it's like 30% of his portfolio. I mean,
but what is Apple? It's all marketing.
And it's marketing. We're talking about your husband, orthodontics. Mm-hmm. Steve Jobs was the marketing. You look at the companies like Bill Gates, where when you could name the founder of the company. Remember that advertising? I love the company so much I bought it. That Gillette, shaver or something like that. But yeah, it all begins with you. You're not buying teeth off a shelf. I want to know the human being, and do I have an emotional sociology? Psychology.
Definitely.
Relationship.
And I feel especially, we're in Orange County. So Orange County is we're a very high end area, and people really want to know so much about you before they come to see you. And it is a small, Orange County is small. So you have to have a reputation. And so, my reputation here is that, oh my God, she's this amazing, boss. She's this amazing mother. She's that and that. And I think it's very important to really tie in. And it's really important to get to know my patients. Just like when a patient comes into your office and you go, well, what do you do? How many kids do you have? Where do your kids go to school? Where do you guys travel? It's also important, I think, for your patients to know that about you. I think it's a relationship that you need to build to make sure that you're comfortable with that person. And I think it goes hand in hand with really showing up on Instagram and showing who you are as a person as well.
And I love your Instagram. I really do. I mean, I think there's a reason you have 107,000 followers. I mean, and it's part dentistry, part your husband, part your family, part your exercising, part dentistry, part fashion. So I want to get to one point though. I firmly agree on that. The successful people in cosmetic dentistry, guy or women, Larry Rosenthal, they're always hot people. You're very, very hot. Larry Rosenthal's got the hair and the Porsche and the ponytail. I don't think you could look like me and be a successful cosmetic dentist. So if you look like Elmer Fudd and people ask you if you're Peter Griffin, I don't know. I wouldn't hire a personal trainer that looked like me.
Exactly.
I get someone that looked like.
It's like hiring a nutritionist who's obese.
Right.
I mean, are you going to listen to someone that's obese giving you advice on nutrition? Absolutely not. And I think it goes hand in hand because I feel like because dentistry is so meticulous and it's aesthetics, and I feel like your smile is everything. 85% of population first sees your smile before they notice anything else. I think it's huge. And knowing that we're in Orange County where it's so high end and everybody is very much into their looks and very much into their appearances, I think it's crucial that, you know, we look good, because really when you're presenting, you know, a treatment plan, or you're talking to a patient about, I'm going to make you look beautiful, I'm going to give you these perfect teeth, and they look at you and you don't look good. I mean, what are you trying to portray, right? Like, what message are you trying to give that patient? So it's extremely important for us physically to look good as well. You know, and have a nice body and have a nice face and have nice teeth and all of that, because that all ties into your own brand. And people, you know, when they come into the office and they look at you, I probably wouldn't get my teeth done with a dentist that was sloppy looking and didn't have any aesthetics and didn't know, you know, what looking good meant. So I think it's huge.
Oh, all the way down to the shoe. All the
Yeah,
way down to the shoe. I mean, people like that. I mean, if you're going to go into cosmetic dentistry, you even need to
absolutely.
buy specific shoes. But yeah, I remember one time, I I shouldn't have said it looking back. I was young and dumb but
Yeah.
anyway, I was at Jim Pride's lecture and he was lecturing on cosmetic dentistry. He was the big consultant time. And he's saying,
Mhm.
you should be able to sell bleaching to anyone. And I raised my hand and I said, well, you could get it for free and you have the darkest, brownest, crowdedest, crookedest teeth ever. So who are you to say everyone should do this? I can't even believe you're practicing dentistry with those teeth. And another one was Walter Haley. I mean, you know how many cosmetic successful dentists.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, when I was there, you know, three cosmetic dentists like you know, that are elite at it, told him they'd do his case for free. And he wouldn't even
Wow.
do it for free, but he's telling us that, you know, you should be able to sell it to anyone. I'm like, come on,
Right,
dude.
right. Yeah.
I can't even sell it to you for free. But I want to ask you something
Exactly.
else. Two things. Having kids, you know, we still, even though it's 2023, I mean, we still live in a very sexist world. There's still a lot of, you know, people are still cretins. You know,
Yeah.
they always are going to disappoint you. And every time my boys get upset, I said they're humans. They're always going to let you down. You know, that's what humans do.
Sure.
But but they go to dental school. So you're a cosmetic dentist. Your husband's an orthodontist, but I bet you do 90% of the homework with the kids. I bet you do 90% of the parenting. While the orthodontist husband, I've never even met him, and I can see him now. He's sitting on the couch watching ESPN, and and
How
uh,
did you know? How
and
did you know?
so those girls are in
You're a
school.
genius.
Those girls are in school with that biological clock saying, I want to reproduce, have offspring. It's the number one goal of every species. And she's
Yes.
thinking, would it be better to work at a DSO Monday through Friday, 8 to 5? So at 5 o'clock I can forget it, go home and raise my kids? Or do you think being an owner operator like yourself gives you more flexibility to raise your kids? If you just put the kids first, would you be an employee or an employer?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. And I'm just going to answer it really honestly. I think that depends on the personality of the person and the kind of mindset that that person has. I think if you're the type of person that does not want to, that cannot handle a lot on their plate, that cannot handle a lot of pressure, that doesn't have a very strong mindset, I would say go the DSO route and have somebody do all that for you, because you can be just the doctor at work and come home and be the mom and everything. But I think if you're a strong person, you have a strong personality, you have a strong mindset, and you can handle pressure and it's not going to weaken you and drive you nuts, then I think going into private practice is fine. Mind you, you have to work. I would definitely still work for a corporate company for a couple of years to really learn the aspects of dentistry before jumping into an office, because there's so much to learn business wise. Because when you graduate dental school, unfortunately, we don't know anything about business. We're doctors. They don't teach you like you got to do this and you got to learn that and this is how you run your business and all of that stuff. um, but for me, I was building this office when I was 9 months pregnant with my daughter. So during my pregnancy, I was actually building this office, and I was working for as an associate dentist in a private office somewhere else. So I was doing both at the same time. And I remember giving birth to my daughter, and I remember I had a really bad, terrible experience giving birth. And, I was in the hospital forever, and I had a emergency C-section and everything. And the doctor was like, well, you can't work for 3 months. You need to just be home and relax. And 2 months into, I mean, two weeks into it, I just bursted out crying and I just couldn't handle it. I was like, I want to go to work. I crave that pressure and I crave the challenges. And I'm just not the type of person that just wants to be home and and I love taking care of my kids, but I can't just have that mindset. So for me, I've always been really strong headed and strong mindset and always positive, positive, positive. And whatever came my way, I grew up in Lebanon during the war for 14 years. I came here, I was 14, I didn't speak English. And my parents threw me in college at the age of 14. So I didn't even go to high school. And I was the youngest in my class to ever graduate dental school. So I had so many challenges, whether it was language challenges, being a woman, being here on my own in a new country and all of that. And I just always rose above it. And I never saw, and I always take challenges as something positive, And if someone says you can't do something, I will do it just to prove them wrong. That's just me. So I think that really depends on a lot of things. So if you're that person that's just, laid back, and you don't want a lot of stress in your life and you really just want to concentrate on one aspect where you're just that doctor and you just want to go home and be a mom, I would say for sure go the other way, because there's so much more that goes into having a private office and employees. I mean, dealing with employees in a private office is 90% of the battle. So I can do dentistry right now with my eyes closed. I can do it all day long. I actually enjoy it. When I start drilling, I'm thinking of like all these amazing things in my head and I love it. But, dealing with everything else that comes with it and the things that you have to take home sometimes, and you have to worry about them when you're sleeping at night. Sometimes you have sleepless nights where you're like, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? So it really does depend on the type of person. And I think that's huge. There are some people that just can't handle it. I have friends that are doctors and pediatricians and this and that. They're like, I don't want to deal with the hassle. I don't want to deal with employees. I don't want to deal with the business aspect. I'm going to go work for, Hogue or this or that, come home and just be like, I'm done. And they do, and they're happy. And then I think ultimately, it really comes down to what makes you happy. What makes you happy? Is having an office, is it going to drive you crazy and drive you nuts to the point where you're going to, lose the happiness in your life and you're just working, and you're not really feeling like you're living? Then I would say it's not worth it. But if you're the person that actually gets enjoyment out of it and from hustling, and you can handle it and you enjoy the challenges, then I would say, private practice is the way to go.
Well said, and that's very, very, very deep and profound. I mean, they're always complaining about that working for the office manager is always I guess
Oh, always.
it's always a nightmare. The office manager and I've seen DSOs, and I'll talk about DSOs just like food franchises.
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean, look at Chick-fil-A. They come out of nowhere, and now their
Yeah.
average store is beating McDonald's by 2 million a store, and they're closed on Sundays. So McDonald's
Yeah.
open 7 days a week and do 2 million less than Chick Fil A. And what does Chick Fil A do? Oh, they only allow each one of their franchisees to own one. Ray Kroc, when he started McDonald's,
Yeah.
he said, get them married and kids and only give them one location, and you own a legal slave and it'll be successful. Then you look at places like Burger King, where these
Mm-hmm.
ballers come retire from the NFL and they'll say, I'll buy 12 of them. They'll never work those 12. They'll never be in those locations. So I would work. So on DSOs, it all comes down to your office manager. If your
Yeah.
office manager is only in your office, you got a deal. But if she's running 3 or 4 offices, she's Burger
No,
King, and you're never going to be Chick-fil-A. But
no,
you walked into
absolutely.
that. I did not walk into HR. But I'll tell the young kids, when you're old like me, you can always tell when you're a young mind, when you think the biggest hurdles in dentistry are finding the MB2 and trying to get out a root tip and trying to diagnose x-rays. Man, it's elite when they realize it's 90% HR. And
It is.
people are just batshit crazy. I've lectured in 50 countries, and so far I'm the only normal person I've ever met. And so the odds are, if you got 5 people working in your office, 6 of them are crazy. And so I want to go right to
Yes.
the HR tips. How do you,
Yeah.
it's the hardest thing about being an owner operator. It's not, when they say, well, it's the
Very hard.
risk. Dentists don't even have a 1% default rate. The only way a dentist goes bankrupt is when their license taken away, and that's always for crime and drugs and all these things like that. If you're not a criminal, you're not going to go bankrupt. It's not the borrowing money. It's not the finance. Dentists don't go bankrupt. It's not like restaurants where 40% of them go bankrupt the first 2 years, and they have TV shows about fixing
Right.
broken restaurants. This is dentistry. It's not nearly as competitive as restaurants, not even in the same league. But
Right.
it still comes down to just the people. So, what advice can you give a young dentist? She just opened up her office, and the hygienist is fighting with the assistant. What's your HR advice? Do you have any go-to maxims, or is it
Um,
three strikes and you're out, or what? What? How do you play ball?
yeah, I've had my office for 13 years. And so it's definitely probably still to this day, I would say the hardest part of having an office. Like I said, I could do dentistry with my eyes closed. I could do everything else easily, but dealing with different personalities. And, as you know, most people in the dental field are women, right? So you do get sometimes a lot of, cattiness, and this one doesn't get along with that one, and this one doesn't get along with this one. I think the most important thing is to make sure that when you're in the office and when you have employees, number one thing for me is to constantly make sure that everyone is treated the same, right? You have to make sure that if you are, nice to this person, you're also nice to that person. If you treat that person this way, you're treating that person that way. And I think really making sure and letting your employees know that this is a work family. So for us here in our office, we really treat our employees like family, and every morning we come in and every morning we huddle and we say a prayer and we say, whoever, and I tell them my office door is always open. I say, whoever wants to come in and complain to me about anything, you can always come in. So I feel making them feel like, you're not just their boss and they can't come and talk to you about something. Keep that open communication is really important. And I think what happens a lot of times in the offices is that the assistants or the hygienists don't have that connection with the doctor. It's more like, let's say this other person or the manager or something like that, and the doctor's sort of out of it. And they feel like they can't approach the doctor on a lot of things, and something that's bothering them, they don't say it, and eventually they end up quitting. And you go, well, why did this hygienist quit? Because I thought she was happy, or I thought he was happy. But I think it's very important to keep that open communication with your employees, and letting them know that whatever it is that's bothering them in the office, to please knock on your door at any point. And that's what my employees do all the time. They'll come in and they'll sit down and talk to me about their personal life. They'll talk to me about, you know, other, people in the office. And you have to make sure that you're not coming from a place of gossip. You're not coming from a place of like he said, she said. It's more of a place like, Dr. Harb, today this is what weighed heavy on me, and so let's fix it. So let's have an office meeting. And so for me, I make sure that we're having office meetings all the time. And in our office meetings, I have everybody ahead of time write down what we are doing great in the office and what we're lacking in the office. And so whether it is me or the other doctor or the assistant or the front office or the manager, and we literally openly discuss that in our office meetings. And we'll say, let's say, for instance, you guys are scheduling a little too heavy, so the back office, as assistants, we can't handle it in the back. Can you guys make sure that you're changing the schedule and making maybe your cleanings 40 minutes instead of 30 minutes? And I think that open communication with the entire office really, really does help, because the front now knows how the back is feeling and the back knows how the front is feeling. And I think that makes the office flow nicer. And so the front office, when they're scheduling, for instance, appointments, they're not making the back office mad, and the back office is doing the same thing to the front. So really, open communication in the office is huge, and making sure that as a doctor, you're not acting like you're above everybody. You have to make sure that you have to kind of like go down to earth and make sure that you're really communicating with your employees, and making sure that they feel comfortable coming to you and telling you at the end of the day it's something bad happened or something that's bothering them. And I think that's worked very well for us here in the office. And I literally, my employees now will come in and say, hey, Dr. Harb, like so and so, got on my nerves today, or this is bothering me, or you coming in late to that exam room, whatever it is, I feel like they can come in and they're very comfortable talking to me and we fix it right away. And I'll say, you know what? We're going to take care of that. And then we'll write that down. And then that monthly meeting that we have, we will write that down in our paper and we'll go over it. Like, Dr. Harb, I showed up a little late the other day, or this assistant left to lunch. They didn't ask me if I was okay, if I ever needed anything. So we're like, hey guys, next time before you leave, can you make sure, so and so doesn't need help? And so I think that open communication is really huge in the office.
And if they don't bring you back food, just don't let them in the office. That was my
I
policy.
don't, I when I get hangry, Dr. Harb's not, it's not fun. So you
Well,
gotta feed.
I'll tell you what. You said something really interesting that you have an open door and your staff can come in and see it.
I do.
I don't care how many thousands of dental offices you go to in your life in countries around the world. What does a dentist do after every root canal? Walks right back to his private office, goes in there and shuts the door.
Shuts the door.
I mean, he's like, I mean, it just like
Oh yeah.
completely emotionally detached. Like it was all
There.
about finding the apex. And if you found the
Yes. Yes.
apex, I know
Yeah.
it's all about checking the patient out and talking to your front and the waiting room. And if we're running late, it's my job to go out there to the waiting room and say, "Oh my gosh, Gita, I'm so sorry. I was up to my elbows," and
100%.
they're all like, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay." But
100%. And I do that. I do that in my practice a lot. I actually, when we are done with the work, I'm the one that walks the patient to the front. And my assistants are like, Dr. Harb, we got the patient. I'm like, no, I want to walk. And as I'm walking to the front, walking through the corridor, I'm actually like, what are you doing later after this? What are you doing after me? Am I the only thing that's on your schedule today? We'll talk and we'll chat. And then I'll walk them to the front and I make sure that the front has got them handled. And I give them a hug. I give all my patients hugs before they leave. And I really chat with them and I want to get to know them. And I remember everything about them. I'll remember something that they told me 10 years ago, like, oh, my daughter went on this vacation. They'll come years later and I'll say, like, hey, how's your daughter? And they're surprised that I remember that. But going back to my employees, I mean, it's funny, when I say I have an open door, I really do have an open door because even on their lunches, they'll bring their lunch and they'll come knock on my door and they go, can we sit in your office and have lunch? And they literally sit across my office and in their chairs and they'll just have lunch or chat with me. But that just tells you the kind of relationship I have with my employees. They know when I'm serious and they know when things need to be done, but they also know that they have a friend in me. And I feel it's rare. I don't know what dentist has their employees knocking on their door going, hey, can we sit and just have lunch here? And sometimes I'm working on doing my charting and they're actually just sitting, eating their lunches there, but they just want to be in my office. So I think that's really important to have that relationship with your employees and make them feel welcome all the time and make them feel that they're being heard. And I think that's really big because every person wants to be heard.
I want to ask you another very controversial question because I know you're married to an orthodontist.
Yes.
When I got out of school in '87, I was appalled by cosmetic dentistry. I thought it was gross. I mean, no matter what they look like, they'd come in and file the upper 10 and lower 10 teeth down to little rice kernels and put a
Yes.
big bulky PFM on it. And you look at this and they had some crowding, they had some chips, discolorization. And then the next slide, you have 8 kernels of rice on the upper and lower and all this court. And I was like, good God, this is horrible. And not one of them could do orthodontics. And then orthodontics
Yeah.
came out and orthodontists run a very tight cartel. They have a limited
Yeah.
number of ortho seats. If any orthodontist like Richard Litt starts teaching general dentists, he's blackballed from the orthodontic community. He's never invited to
Oh, yeah.
speak. Harry Green in Phoenix, same thing. I only know Harry Green and Richard Litt as board certified orthodontists who taught low life general dentists like me and you how to do ortho, and the orthodontists just shut them down. Well, I saw that when you kept ortho out of the curriculum, everybody's teeth was filed down to rice. And now I'm in Phoenix, and next door Tempe is in Align Technology and Invisalign. So I want to know. So my question to you is, what does your orthodontist your husband, and maybe not him, but he hears from his colleagues, what do they really think of cosmetic dentists like you doing Invisalign or unraveling the teeth so you don't have to
Mhm.
file them down into grains of rice? You know, do you do ortho? Do you do Invisalign, or can you not do it because you'll go home and your husband will put your plate out on the back porch because you were stealing his business and saying, "Hey, that's my cartel. You're not allowed to
Yeah.
do ortho."
So it's funny you ask because obviously, obviously I can do Invisalign if I wanted to, but I don't. I leave actually the cases, everything to him. And I have to say, as a general dentist, they don't teach you a lot of ortho in dental school, and you're not taught a lot on the bite in dental school either. But now, and my husband is here in the office as well, so he does a couple of days here in the office. So this is why, another reason why I let him do what he's good at. Um, but learning the ortho part of dentistry, I have learned it from him because he's very, very, very thorough with his orthodontics, and he's very thorough on facial aesthetics. And I have learned so much from him on the bite and straightening teeth and profiles and all of that and occlusion. And I am so big on doing ortho first before I prep teeth. And I think that came from the fact that I work with him hand in hand. And I think he has taught me so much because I went to Tufts Dental School, and ortho was like, oh, you don't touch ortho. That's a specialty. You don't touch it. And we don't learn anything about it.
It's not a specialty; it's a cartel.
Yeah, kind of. But but living with an orthodontist all the time, they'll go, she's just a general dentist. And I hear that from my husband all the time. When we're out at dinner and people say, well, what do you do? And I go, well, I'm a cosmetic, dentist. And I go, my husband is a dentist. And he goes, I'm an orthodontist. I am not a dentist. So they're very much like that. But you really have to know the importance. So, I mean, for him, yeah, he gets upset when he sees cosmetic dentists, just drilling and shaving down teeth where one tooth is here and the other one is here, and they're completely crooked and they're taking so much tooth structure. And he gets really like empathetic and mad about it. And I think that's what's really taught me, because we work together hand in hand. So now what I do is a lot of times I'll say, listen, I can give you the best veneers, or I can give you the best crowns possible. But my recommendation, in order for me to do it the right way, so I'm not shaving too much tooth structure off, and I'm not compromising the nerve, and I'm not compromising the dentin, is to do it this way. So I will send them to him. They do he'll do the orthodontics on them, whether it's Invisalign or regular braces. And they'll come to me and I'll do cosmetics. Every once in a while, there's probably 1% of my patients where I was not able to convince them to do ortho first. And they're like, absolutely, under no condition I'm doing ortho first. And then I'll go into cosmetics. But I will never go into cosmetic dentistry not trying to straighten the teeth first with ortho.
And what percent of your ortho cases with your husband can be done by Invisalign today versus have to go back to straight wire?
I would say probably, okay, so my husband is not huge on doing Invisalign on everybody. I know there's a lot of dentists out there that go, we can fix a bite and we can fix this and we can fix it. He's very, very honest with his patients. And so am I, because we know you really cannot fix so much of the bite with Invisalign. It's not going to happen. And we've had so many cases where we have to do so many revisions on Invisalign. So for him, he's super honest, and he'll tell the patients, listen, I can straighten the teeth, but bite-wise, I cannot fix the bite and make it perfect with Invisalign. So, he'll convince them, and he'll try, and then he'll do regular braces. But I would probably say, out of most cases right now, I would probably say 35% to 40% is Invisalign. But still, we do push for regular braces, because when it comes to occlusion and when it comes to having the proper bite, that's really the right way to go. And I think within our practice with him and I, we are so diligent and we are so big on bites and having the right occlusion, because I've seen some teeth that have been straightened and they come to us and I go, okay, well, the teeth are straight, but it's such a deep bite. And I'm like, did your orthodontist ever say anything about opening up the bite or fixing the bite? And they're biting horribly. They're still having TMJ. And then we're having to go back into braces and open up the bite and fix it. So we're very, very diligent with that. And we're very big on aesthetics, facial aesthetics and profiles and occlusion. I think that's huge in our practice. And you don't find that very often in a lot of dental offices.
Well, you know what Invisalign cannot fix? Align Technologies price earnings ratio of 45. I'm just not,
Hmm.
you know, Warren Buffett
Yeah.
always, 10 to 20 is the range. And
Yeah.
once it gets over 20,
It's crazy.
it's crazy. And they're at
And it keeps going up.
45. They're at
And it,
45. And
yeah.
last year
And
they were what, 67, and I think the year before that they were 100. So they're going in the right way.
yeah.
But yeah, I think cosmetic dentistry has just come light years away. And I also want to ask you. You said you were good in marketing, so I'm going to ask you a real personal question on this marketing. I always thought your dental technologies. You say you like lasers, digital scanning, 3D imaging.
Mm,
I almost think that's the marketing presentation when the person walks in the office. They believe they're in a Star Wars environment. I'll give you a guy at the gym. He is a podiatrist, and all of his billboards and advertising is laser surgery.
right.
And I said, you know what? When you're removing a bunion, I can't imagine you spending all that time with a laser when you could just take a
Mm,
scalpel and sink it to the. He goes, dude,
right.
I use the laser for about 2 seconds, put it down, and pull out a 50. It's just marketing, marketing, marketing.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a laser podiatrist. I don't know why, but so how much? I mean, honestly, how much of that lasers and digital scanning and 3D imaging do you think is part of your brand and image and
Mm,
confidence that you can do
very good
veneers on Darth
question.
Vader? Or do you
Yes.
really need this stuff? Like I can do anything with a 15 blade that you can do with a YAG laser. But
Right.
where's the blend? Is it marketing or is it dentistry for you?
You know what? For me, I have to admit on this one that it is dentistry. I think that if you had asked me a few years back before, we bought all our digital, equipment and everything. We've always had digital X-rays, obviously, and all of that stuff. But before our scanning and everything else that we do now digitally, I would have said, oh, I don't need it. It's fine. It's not going to save me time. But nowadays, our digitals, I do every single crown. Every single crown is I do it digitally. I use the iTero and then it goes straight to the lab. And I absolutely love it. First of all, it cuts time. Second of all, we're not having to put impressions in the patient's mouth and they're not having to bite down and sit there for 3 to 4 minutes and wait for it to dry and take it out. And it's a mess and it's disgusting. And they love it. And it saves us time too. And then also because you're not waiting for this driver to come and pick up your case, it goes digitally. So within a couple of seconds or a minute, the lab has it and they're already, working on it. I think that's huge. So I think for me, yeah, do I use it for my marketing? Absolutely. But do I use it on a regular basis in my office? Absolutely too, because I think now every single crown and everything I prep gets digitally scanned and it goes out to the lab. Um, Also, as far as 3D, I mean, nowadays it's, I have an oral surgeon in the office. So when he comes in and he wants to do an implant, he's like, no, Dr. Harb, I need a 3D. So, we have a CT scan and that helps us not having to send people out to get all these digital x-rays done. So it has helped a lot. Now, as far as lasers are concerned, I love my laser. And I used to do crown lengthenings before differently. I mean, we did it the old fashioned way. And now, you cut it with the laser. Um, Even in my cosmetic cases, when I'm doing a lot of my veneers, I recontour a lot of the gums. And that I do all the time with laser. I do all of it with laser. I do my frenectomies with
What
laser
laser?
nowadays.
What laser?
I have the ultra dent laser.
The Ultradent.
Yes, and it works amazing. I do frenectomies with it. I do gum recontouring. I do all sorts of things. I even if you have like an ulcer, even if you have cold sores, we use it to zap those out. So for me, it has worked really really well. And the fact that when you do that, you don't have to sit there and wait for the gum to heal. You don't have to sit there and don't have bleeding. It's huge. So I do use the laser quite a bit in my office.
Well, I bet Dan Fisher was glad to hear you mention his laser during the show. So, Dan, who gets the chocolates? Is it Gita or me? Or should we each get chocolates and by him?
We both do.
We both do. And here's another thing. The CAD Cam people, they market in my own magazine that, you can do veneers with this thing. You can do cosmetic dentistry in this thing. So I'm asking you in Orange County. By the way, have you ever done a consultation where you told them to fix up your smile to be awesome in Southern California, to be like 50 grand, and for half that money, you could just move back to Iowa? And,
Oh
do you ever
my
say,
goodness.
but but seriously, do you think you could do your practice doing all that cosmetic dentistry on a CAD cam? Milling it
Um,
chairside in your office, staining and
on a
glazing.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think for me, I mean, I don't use it at my office, so I send everything out, and they do everything outside. So I don't, if there's anything that I don't like, it gets sent back. If there's anything that I'm not happy with, I send it back. I work closely with some amazing labs here in Orange County and Beverly Hills. So I don't know. It's a hard question for me to answer because I really don't have, you know, I don't use it on a regular basis. So, um, but I would assume probably not.
Yeah, I don't think, and I think if you think you can do it, you're a cosmetic dentist that looks like me or Peter Griffin in North Dakota,
Yeah, I
and
don't
you're
think so. I
working
think
on.
there's so much that
Yeah,
goes into it. I
yeah.
think it's not something attainable. I think you really have to have someone professionally sitting there and doing that. And I just don't think it's something that I haven't taken that on. So
So I don't want to get too personal with you and all that, but I'm wondering where you learned this free enterprise. Did your mom and dad own their own business? Were your mom and dad business owners, or were they employees? Were they like,
Uh, so no, my dad was an entrepreneur. My mom was a stay-home mom because we're 8 kids, so I can't
wow?
imagine working with 8 kids. So she raised an amazing
So
family.
you have to be from
So
Lebanon. You have to be Catholic if you have 8 kids.
we are Catholic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see, I got it.
yeah. There you go. You know everything.
My two oldest
uh,
sisters are nuns. They can spot a Catholic from in a foreign country
oh
in
my
two
gosh, that's so
seconds.
funny.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, my mom wanted to become a nun, and then my dad was like, no, absolutely not. So he pulled her out. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But yeah, so my mom was stay home. My dad was an entrepreneur. My dad and a politician. So he actually owned several magazines. He owned an engineering company. He was in politics. He was involved in politics in Lebanon. So he's big on entrepreneurship, and I think I learned a lot of it from him. He's a very strong man, huge mindset. Like he's very positive mindset, very, very strong mentally. And I think I get a lot of my drive, and fire from him. He's in his 80s now, and still to this day, he doesn't sit still. He writes every day. He journals. He reads. He's still on stages speaking, and he does public speaking. And I think I get a lot of that from him. So yeah, I mean, I think it's growing up watching him hustle and work hard and be the kind of person that he is. I think of course it's inspired me in so many ways.
My final question, because I know viewers like to keep these things under an hour. They always tell us, keep it under an hour. So I could talk to you for 40 days and 40 nights. But my
Yes.
final question is, she's listening to you right now, and she's saying, "My dad worked for the post office, and my mom stayed home." You said you look for mentors? How do you look for business mentorship? How do you learn how to be a successful business person? What do you do? Do you read books? Did you get an MBA? What do you do? Just talk to your
You
dad?
know, uh, so a lot of it I've taught myself. I never really had a mentor, and I think that's why I speak up about that because I think that's very important. I wish I had someone that had taken me in and said, "Listen, I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'm going to show you how to run a business. I'm going to show you how to prep a crown or do a veneer case or be a cosmetic dentist." I really learned a lot from self growth, and I've really done a lot to I've pushed myself to the limit all the time to do better and to learn new things. And I think that's really important. So for me, I attend a lot of courses, and not just this on dentistry. I attend a lot of courses on mental health. I attend a lot of courses on motivation. I attend a lot of courses on self growth. I mean, just this last month, I think the last 2 months, I've taken three different seminars and three different courses on 3 days in a row. And I just came back from one last week. It was like a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Um, and I really learned how to push myself. So you obviously have to constantly, continuously be learning, and you have to surround yourself with successful people. And I always tell people, if you want to be average, hang out with average people. If you want to be bad, hang out with bad people. If you want to be great, hang out with great people. And if you want to be excellent, you always have to hang out with people that are doing better than you because you always have to learn from them. And I think for me, that's always been the case. I've always surrounded myself with people that were successful, people that I wanted to be, looked up to. because you are who you hang out with. And so, as someone, just freshly graduating and wanting to open an office and wanting to be entrepreneur, you really have to look for these courses. And I make it a point to look for courses like that. I make it a point to go out and meet entrepreneurs and meet people that are doing great and learn from them. And I think that's huge. And self growth is so important when you're an entrepreneur. I think it's very, very important to mentally be prepared to have a business, to deal with people, to constantly grow. And I think that comes from doing a lot of these seminars or learning from a lot of people and who you surround yourself with. So that's huge.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dental Town still gets 1,000 new members a month. I can't believe it. We've never gone under 1,000 new members a month since 1998. And
That's
if you ever
amazing.
feel like mentoring, we have a section called Cosmetic Dentistry, and it's literally wars on Botox, dermafills, cosmetic dentistry. Oh my God! But if you ever want to share some more advice, go to Dental
I would love
Town
that.
on the
I would
cosmetic
love. I do,
section.
I do Botox in my office now. I as well. I do a lot of Botox and I do full faces. I do masseters. I do TMJ. All of those things. So yeah, I would love to. I think that'd be amazing.
I just ran into a friend of mine who's the same age as me, and I just like had to take a separate look. I said, "Dude, did you get a
He's on
facelift
Botox.
or something?" I mean, he looked totally different. And he said it was just Botox. I mean, I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
stunned. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if they did the whole head or what the or if he just drank a bottle of it or but
yeah.
he
Well,
seriously looked.
I'm sure he's had his forehead done, his 11 lines, his crow lines, all of those.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah,
Well,
it's
you are just nonstop energy. Wow.
thank
I've always
you.
been the most thrilled that I'm a dentist, not because it's a dentist versus, a dermatologist. It's because of the
Yes,
people like you that are attracted to dentistry. I've always been amazed at the caliber of people I share the profession with, and you are right up there at the top. Thank you so
thank,
much. At the
thank
end
you.
of
I
your long
appreciate you.
day, instead of going home to your husband and kids, you came on this show for an hour.
It's all good. It was such a pleasure to meet you, and I gotta get have you on my podcast as well one of
At
these days.
anytime. But
Yes, we'd
thank you
love that.
so much, and thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on the show. And I know you're already successful, and I bet you're going to scale your success in the next 10 years. I mean, it's amazing,
Thank you. I
fun to
appreciate
watch.
you very
I
much. It
can
was a
feel
pleasure
your
talking
energy all the way to Phoenix from Orange County. But okay, well, have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Bye bye.
Have a good night. Bye bye.